Let me start by saying that I have the most sincerest love for my Christian friends and family. It is because I care for you I'm making these videos of warning. If you love someone, would you watch them blindly walk off a cliff or a tall building to their death? Even if you think I'm wrong, I urge to at least watch until the end with an open mind and open heart and just pray about it. And ask the Father, is there really something to this? When a Christian brings in Easter bunnies, evergreen trees, or even the most unholy things that has to do with the celebration of Halloween into their homes, the Christian is defiling their place of dwelling. The home of the believer should be a set-apart place for worship and prayer. It is not merely a place they eat and sleep, but it's their temple, just as much as their body is. Every believer should cleanse their house from any items of witchcraft, and anything else that is ungodly and unholy. We are commanded to put the law of the Most High not only on our hearts, but also on our doorposts and on our land entrance gates as a reminder of how spiritually clean our dwelling should be. It is a visual reminder of the high standard God requires from his followers. Just like wearing the tzitzit or the tassels is also a reminder of the same commandments, but are worn on person. Christians defile their dwelling and taint their worship place by bringing idols into it. Those idols are evergreens on Christmas, with its decorations, the bunnies and eggs on Easter, and the unholy day of Halloween and all of its demonic idols, which many Christians not only practice in their homes, but also in their own churches. Even when Christians don't acknowledge and worship the Christmas tree itself directly, it is taking part in the worship of God because it's a relation to Christmas. The tree is constantly there. It's there 24/7. It's constantly being acknowledged, and for this reason it is worshipped indirectly. Let me repeat that. It is worshipped indirectly, which results of it even taking precedence over the Messiah the Christians claim they are decorating it for. Not to mention that we are not commanded to celebrate any prophet's birthday, including our own Messiah's. On the contrary, we are told to observe the feasts of the Father that he set aside for his people. And Christmas is not such a time. Christmas is a mere tradition. And what did Messiah say to the Pharisees about their traditions, who replaced God's commandments? Do you remember how he kept rebuking them and their traditions? There's no connection between an evergreen tree and the biblical story of the birth of Messiah. Its decoration and dedication in the house of the believer is not a commandment in Scripture. In fact, the only mention of a decorated tree in the Bible is in Jeremiah 10, and it is not on a positive note. It mentions how detestable cutting down, bringing into the house, and decorating it is to the Most High. It's taking the creation and worshiping it as the Creator, or allowing the tree to even take part in the worship of the Creator. Jeremiah 10 is very interesting because these verses are not a direct commandment of what to do, but rather a reminder of the second commandment in Exodus 20, verse 4, and is expanded upon Deuteronomy 16, verses 21 to 22, which says not to have any trees grown next to the altar of Yahweh, for it can lead to temptation of idols being used as part of worship. We are going to get into these verses in a moment. But the cutting of the tree and decorating it is an idol, which is why it is mentioned in Jeremiah 10. As a reminder of what is detestable to Yahweh. Some say that Jeremiah is talking about carving a tree into an idol of worship. However, I would encourage you to actually consider the following. This is the interlinear scripture analyzer that I'm using. And in Jeremiah 10, verse 5, in the beginning, it is very important to understand the word here, ketamar, that's in Hebrew ketamar, which means as palm tree. Okay, as palm tree, it's stiff, it's not speaking, it's doing nothing. The entire context here, it's like a tree. Okay, he's giving a reference of a tree. He could have given a reference of many other things, like a log or part of a building or anything else, but he keeps talking about trees. You know, a few verses before that, in verse 4, he speaks about how it's fastened with nails and hammers. You know, like you fasten a tree. And you know, I believe in verse 3, yes, verse 3, you know, they cut them out of the woods, you know, with an axe, and so on and so forth. So in verse 5, it is clear that he is speaking about a tree because he's giving us an example as a palm tree, ketamar. In Israel, it's these palm trees, they grow dates on them. So etz tamar, it's actually a date palm tree. Okay, let's keep going here. Whether it's talking about a carved idol or not, it doesn't really matter. Fact still remains, the tree, whether carved or not, is still an idol used in worship. Whenever we bring anything besides ourselves as a worship offering to our Father that we are not commanded to bring, such as the Christmas tree, we are turning it into an idol of worship because it's taking part in it. So this tree is taking part of the celebration. It is part of the worship. This is really important to understand. Even though you're not bowing down directly to the tree and you're not acknowledging the tree as the item of worship, it is taking part of the worship. Okay, hence making it into an idol. We are commanded not to partake in such rituals, and anyone who does should be stoned to death, according to the commandment. That's how serious the Most High is taking this matter. The evergreen Christmas tree is the modern-day golden calf and should belong in the forest where it is intended to be originally and not in the believer's house. So let's read the entire verse and analyze a little bit. For the practices of the people are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen, with the axe. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must be carried, because they move not. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is in them to do good. There's a lot of interesting things in this verse. For example, we already talked about how it is upright as a palm tree. So it is obviously talking about a tree and not a carved idol. But it becomes an idol because it moves not. It's not able to do anything. It can do evil and it can do good. It is nothing, just like idols are nothing. Let's read Deuteronomy 16, verse 21 through 22. You shall not plant yourself a grove of any trees near unto the altar of Yahweh your God, which you shall make for yourself. Neither shall you set yourself up any image which Yahweh your God hates. You can read all the other verses, but the context here is obviously idols. And it is really interesting that he tells not to plant any trees. And it is speaking about planting. I could go to the scripture analyzer and just to show you real quick, Deuteronomy 16 verse 21, right? Yeah, here we go. So lo tita, it means plant. You shall plant not. Okay, so it's obviously talking about planting an entire forest anywhere near the altar, because it would tempt the Israelites to make idols, and that is not something that the Father tolerates. Okay, by worshiping our Father together with the tree is doing the same thing as the Israelites did when they basically made the golden calf. You know, they were saying, oh, the golden calf brought them out of Egypt. They were doing it out of good intentions. But while that's true, Yahweh was ready to destroy them from the face of the earth. How do you think he feels today about all these believers do the same thing today, but in just a different form? The Father only accepts one form of worship, and it is not through the tradition of men. So if you are a Christian and you truly want to worship the God of Israel, start from the foundation. Exodus 20 verse 4 reads, "You shall not make yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth, beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them." This is really interesting. You shall not bow down or worship. For I, Yahweh, your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. So we shouldn't even bow to any of these idols. It is that serious. So start from the foundation. The first 5 books of the Bible where the Torah is given to us. Learn the instructions of how to live and how our Father wants to be worshipped. Learn what is acceptable and what is not acceptable to Him, so you have a sound judgment and knowledge instead of non-biblical traditions. Then all of Messiah's teaching will make sense to you because you started with the foundation and went forward instead of starting with Messiah and going backwards. Praise to the Most High, and I pray this message will find you well.